talking about golf clubs. Our next guest, according to his Twitter bio, part-time golfer, full-time sports writer. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Feature writer for NBA.com. He just finished up his previews for all the NBA teams. We'll see what he thinks of the Kings. Shaun Powell with us. How are you today, Shaun? And how are you hitting him?
Yeah, see, there's a reason why it says part-time golfer. Just want to stress that, it's just, I'm not a professional. I leave it to the professionals. But, while you guys were, out sipping Mai Tais or whatever you do during the summer, some exotic island, I was grinding with Team USA all summer, the Olympics and all the pre-Olympic games and everything. I just want to let you know that, I work hard. And by the way, you know what that reminded me? It reminded me that we've got the best job in the world.
Yes, so you're grinding. Were you at every spot? Did you go to Paris too?
Hey, dude, I started out in Las Vegas, the training camps, Abu Dhabi, London.
Man,
Paris.
He's grinding out there. He is grinding.
There you go. Let's get that straight.
Shaun, in your Kings preview, you asked the question, are the Kings the best NBA team in California? What is the answer?
Oh, absolutely. I think so. I think the Warriors are, and I know, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, I get that, but I think they're in for a little bit of a come down. And I think right now they're paying the price of past championships. It's hard to stay at the top. It's hard to win every other year, whatever they were winning, because of the salary cap. Players get old. Things happen. So, and the competition in the West has risen. Sacramento Kings among them, Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Denver. Watch out for Memphis. Watch out for Memphis. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And as far as the Lakers, we're not even going to talk about the Clippers. By the way, I think they have a really nice arena. And that's probably the best thing I think we can say about the Clippers this year.
Man. Did you hear what James Harden said today, fellas?
I don't want to hear it.
He talked about him adjusting to the league and everything. He said, well, the league has had to adjust to me over the years. And I'm like, my gosh, James.
Yeah.
Hey, Shaun, what do you see as the key, I guess, for Sacramento? Is it integrating DeMar? I know you wrote about Kevin Huerter as well. What do you see as the key for the Kings?
Well, Kevin Huerter's got to have a bounce-back year, and I know he was hurt and everything, but I think we can all agree that he can play better. And now you've got DeMar DeRozan coming in, and the strange thing with DeMar is, he's not supposed to be as good as he is because he doesn't stretch the floor, shoot three-pointers. What that guy does when he has the ball with the game on the line is he helps win basketball games. And it's going to provide an interesting tug of war in the last minute of a close game. We've got two of the best clutch players in the NBA on the same team. So I want to see those guys fight over that basketball. You know what I'm talking about. De'Aaron Fox, DeMar DeRozan. I think that can be a good tandem. I just think that there's got to be a cohesion pretty much right away with those guys. And, it's good you have Sabonis there. He's a good passer from the high post. And Keegan Murray, make defenses pay if they double on those guys. But I need to see better defense, obviously. And I just need to see these guys, just really have some chemistry right away. Because as I said, the West is tough, man.
Mm-hmm. Shaun Powell with us. You can see his previews of every NBA team at NBA.com. Shaun, we were just talking about this. Kyle was at practice today, and we're still, as Sacramento fans, it's still a little bit of a shock to see DeMar DeRozan playing for the Kings because for years, that's the type of player that just wasn't going to come here. So my question is, how surprised were you that DeMar DeRozan ended up playing in Sacramento?
Well, let's keep it in context. You're not getting the 27-year-old DeMar DeRozan. Sure. And no offense to the great people in Sacramento and a fantastic organization, but players just don't gravitate to, they gravitate more to the big city bright lights, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Now, having said that, you're still getting a pretty good version of DeMar DeRozan. So I'm not so sure that proves, that Sacramento can be magnetic when it comes to, free agents, signing trades, whatever, however, which way you want to designate those type of players. But I always think now with the salary cap being as restricted as it is, I think it's going to be hard for free agents to really go anywhere and get paid. Now they can go somewhere and take a pay cut, but it's hard to squeeze in a top-line free agent making $35, $40, $50 million a year. How are you going to have that kind of money under the cap? So I think now when you look, actually that kind of helps teams like Sacramento because guys like, De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis, Malik Monk, they're not like, they want to get paid. And if you have a good team and you give them a good reason to stay, they're going to stay. So I think that kind of helps teams like Sacramento, where you're not being hurt by defections.
Shaun Powell joining us here on The Drive, guys. Shaun, you talked about, are the Kings the best team in the state of California? Let's talk about some of those other teams. What do you make of the Lakers and the hiring of JJ Redick? I'm reading some of his quotes. He's a different cat in that head coaching spot. How do you think that'll pan out?
Not good.
Dang.
First of all, he has no experience. And I'm not talking about no NBA experience. He has zero coaching experience. And, people will brush it off and say, what about Doc Rivers? Or, what about Jason Kidd? And, what about Steve Kerr? Okay, well, those are outliers. All right. That doesn't mean everybody who doesn't have coaching experience is going to thrive. I can probably name about 4, 5, 6 others who really didn't have much of any coaching experience, and they failed. The other thing about JJ Redick is he's a bit arrogant. And let me just say something about being an NBA coach. You better have your ego in check. All right. You can't go around that locker room, puff out your chest and think you know it all. And by the way, he does know a lot. I'm not diminishing his basketball IQ, but you got to have your ego in check because you will be brought down pretty hard, particularly if you're dealing with the media as well. So I think there needs to be a bit of an adjustment on his behalf. And, at the first sign of trouble, how do you deal with that? Like I said, man, how many people, by the way, are going to walk off the street and take your job right now, right? Broadcasting is tough, man.
Right.
It's tough. How many people are going to walk off the street and write like I do? And it's tough.
Right.
So you think you can just walk into an NBA locker room with some expectations and thrive? Okay, I got to see that first.
Yeah, Shaun Powell, our guest from NBA.com. You mentioned Memphis, and we've been talking a lot about how Memphis looks like a team to really be wary of. How do you think Zach Edey is going to fit in there, and how much you think he'll contribute? What else do you like about Memphis?
Well, it's interesting because I spent the last few days at the Grizzlies opening of camp. And let me just tell you right now that John Morant, I think he's going to be in for a big year. And I know a lot of his wounds were self-inflicted, but I think he's going to bounce back hard. As far as Zach Edey, look, the NBA is not so kind to big men who make their living in the post. You have to be able to stretch the floor a little bit now, at least have a mid-range shot. I don't know what he has. Obviously, he's a big mystery. Emphasis on big and emphasis on mystery. 2-time college player of the year coming in. He can set some picks. I'll tell you what, man, you don't want to run into that pick. That dude is big, But how he thrives off of John Morant with this pick and roll. I mean, does he have good hands? Is he going to be able to catch the ball? Defensively, teaming up with Jaren Jackson, that could be pretty good. But then again, you ISO on him, you put that big man out on the island, you get a mismatch and someone could take him to the hole, whatever. So I think he's got to show that he can fit in today's NBA, right? And be effective, most likely with being a rebounder, an interior presence, and catch the ball when John Morant throws it to you off the screen and roll.
Shaun, when I look at the West, I say my Kings are right there in the mix for a top 4 seed. If you were to do tiers, would it be Minnesota, OKC on the top tier, and then, maybe Sacramento and some of the other teams? How would you look at it?
It's very tough because, I'm throwing out mystery teams. Memphis a couple years ago, Sacramento was nowhere near Memphis. And Memphis really didn't lose anybody. If anything, they gained players, right? Look at New Orleans, another mystery. They get DeJounte Murray. Does that make them pretty good? Look at the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, they went to the NBA Finals last year. Are we ready to write off Denver? So when you talk about tiers, I guess you got to put up, Oklahoma City, I think, is probably right up top.
Yeah.
Maybe Dallas if Klay Thompson thrives, although I have questions about that.
Yeah.
But I would put Sacramento somewhere in the mix. I think Sacramento is going to make the playoffs. It's just a matter of, do they get in as a play-in team? Do they finish in the top 6? And by the way, I think that there could be these teams like 5 and 16 could be bunched and separated by like a win or two. Does that mean like the 7th place team is a lot worse than the 3rd place team? No, they could be separated by about 4 or 5 wins. And it's going to force coaches to play their top players and not rest them. That's going to be a key.
Shaun, one team I don't think we've mentioned in the West, a team that the Kings could not beat last year, New Orleans Pelicans. How do you see them with, they got DeJounte Murray, Brandon Ingram situation still not resolved. What do you make of their prospects this year?
Well, as far as the Brandon Ingram situation, I would think that that's a good thing for the New Orleans Pelicans. He's motivated. Never underestimate a player who's trying to play for that next big contract. So I think that could actually help them. Obviously, the question is going to be Zion, number one. He's going to stay healthy. I guess he lost a little bit of weight. We heard that before. But when he is healthy, he is motivated. He plays very well. He's, very dominant and everything. But again, it's not, because of injury and other things, Zion has not been like a big-time star yet. Is this the year? I don't know. They've got a really good starting 5 and everything. I just don't know about their middle situation. Who's their center? I mean, when they go up against Jokic probably just licking his chops. I mean, they don't really have anybody there who can offer much resistance. So Trey Murphy, has been really good for them. Herb Jones, obviously, Jose Alvarado, he just signed a contract extension. They like him. So they've got a good nucleus of players. I just wonder about their defense and whether or not Zion's going to stay healthy.
Shaun Powell, again, check out his previews of every team, NBA.com. And Shaun, listen, you've been globetrotting here. You got the season starting. Get some rest, man. Whatever you do, take a few days off. Go play some golf. Relax before the season starts. Yeah.
What's that?
Thank you, Shaun. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, guys. Anytime.
All right, Shaun. We'll talk to you when we come back. The NFL's new dynamic kickoff rule. Is it producing the desired effect? We crunch some of the numbers next on Sactown Sports.
Want to keep your gas